Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit HomeGain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to HomeGain.com.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Washington, D.C. Metro with local expert Ryan Sloper. Now, here's Ryan.
Welcome back, Washington, D.C. Metro, to Ryan Sloper's Real Estate Radio, and I'm joined today by Louis Camerasano, the General Manager of HomeGain. Quick reminder, Real Estate Radio is designed to build the Washington, D.C. Metro's housing and credit markets one house at a time. If you ever have any questions, concerns, or real estate needs, the best number to reach out to us is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. Or you can reach us on the web at realestateradio.dcmetro.com. That's realestateradio.dcmetro.com. So we want to jump into this week's Your Mortgage Matters segment, where we discuss all things affecting you and the mortgage market that's out there. I've had a lot of emails and phone calls lately from you guys out there wanting to know if you're eligible for a refinance and if your property value is at a realistic number that you could consider refinancing. So I think the bigger question within that is, how do I determine what my house is worth? Well, one of the first things that I would recommend is, doing some sort of online search, like going to homegain.com, entering in your information where you can get some sales statistics. Well, how can they do that, Louis?
It's at HomeGain.com, and you put in your address in the center widget on the homepage of HomeGain.com, and you'll get an instant home valuation, and you also get a set of comparable sales and nearby sales in your area.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful for the initial. Just if, hey, I'm considering refinance and I want to see what the reasonable or estimated value of my home is. You go there.
Starting point.
Yeah, starting point. Get that number, so we at least maybe can base some numbers off to see if you would potentially qualify. Once we do that, then what the next thing is I typically say, want to find a good local agent in your area that can get us, closed, settled comparables that have sold in the last 3 to 6 months, so that will really help us nail down the value before you actually go through with the refinance transaction, and the lender sends out their own appraiser. Now, in my own experiences, it's always important to make sure when that appraiser comes out that you ask him where his office is located and where what regions he specializes in. Because if we're in Virginia here and you're getting an appraiser coming from the middle of Maryland, you don't want him doing the appraisal. You should go back to your lender and request a different appraiser to come out to your home, because a lot of the times when you have these out-of-state or out-of-the-area appraisers, they will be pulling comparables that might be in different neighborhoods, subdivisions, and in the D.C. metro area, you can go one block over and there could be $100,000, $200,000 difference, which is huge when you're considering potentially refinancing.
Yeah, you have to define what a comparable is.
A comparable, as far as the lender's concerned, I'm seeing that they're getting more and more stringent on comparables as well. Comparable means a house that is like yours, typically square footage, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms that are like your home that have sold within the last 3 to 6 months. Now, sometimes the lender will require that they have, at least 2 comps that have sold in your area in less than 3 months, and the other ones can be less than 6 months.
So what if there aren't any?
And if there aren't any, what typically happens is they're allowed to go a mile outside of the area. Okay.
Could be a big difference.
Could be a big, huge difference. So then they have to go, and if they don't know the area very well, then they have to really start making all these crazy adjustments. And when these adjustments gets made is really where the values can get skewed very easily. And to throw a whole nother monkey wrench into this is if, let's say you're in a subdivision where it's layered with nothing but short sales and foreclosures, and yours is just a normal house, you're just trying to get your refinance done and trying to get the max value that you can to get that refinance done. Typically, you'd like to be at an 80% loan to value or less. Now, that means that your loan balance is 80% of what your house would appraise for at this point in time. Now, I know a lot of people, you're saying, well, we're not in that position. I've had a lot of clients lately that are choosing to take and borrow from their 401k to pay their balance down on their mortgage to that 80% loan to value. Now, you may be saying, well, that's going to cost. Well, it might be, but I'm finding that a lot of these retirement accounts are able to borrow it near the mortgage interest rate of around 4%. So if you can do that, if you can pull that money from a retirement account, or if you have a stocks or whatever it is, and pay down that balance, you take advantage of the close to 4% interest rates on a mortgage, it is probably worth considering doing that.
Considering that your mortgage will be a lot larger than the amount that you take out.
Exactly. Exactly. But back to this subdivision that's, layered with all these other foreclosures and short sales, that's not like, you don't want that appraiser using those comps. So, but if those are the only comps that are available, guess what, they have to get used. So if you find an experienced appraiser that knows the area, most of the time they'll say, okay, well, let me just go a little bit outside the area to see if I can find the normal sales. I'll throw in just one of the short sales and try not to, really destroy the value completely. But it doesn't always happen that way. And there's a lot of subdivisions where there's nothing but short sales and foreclosures you have to pull from. Now in the DC metro area, there's a lot less of foreclosures and there's a lot less of short sales than the average state has right now. So most of the time the appraiser can find comps that are like your property unless it's in a rural area.
But Ryan, isn't there some comfort in purchasing from a non-foreclosure because your chain of title might be a little easier to get, in title insurance?
Sure, but most of the time when they go through that transaction, they're offered owner's title insurance by the title company. If they offer that owner's title insurance, Lewis, you're pretty much covered 100% there. So if anything ever comes back, that owner's policy kicks in, and the title insurance company would have that claim. They would have to take care of it, and the owner wouldn't have to worry about it.
Is that difficult to get?
Most of the time it's not. It could be. What happens is that the title insurance company will really analyze that to see what sort of liens or if there's anything that wasn't cleared up. They'll really want to go back and make sure that they do have a clear chain of title. If there's something that's on there, they might make like an exception to the policy. So it really just depends. I mean, if the title company feels comfortable with it and they'll offer that owner's coverage, which most of them will in the DC metro area, then you're covered, because the lender only requires lender's coverage for title insurance. But when you first buy the home, they offer you the owner's insurance coverage on top of that, which I always recommend to people because that will definitely, really keep you from having somebody try to lay claim to something down the road. So if that's the case and you are in the market to buy a home, I highly suggest, looking into that owner's insurance coverage. It's normally a little bit more than just taking the lender's coverage, but it's there to help you. And if for some reason they're not willing to offer that owner's coverage, Lewis, then I would say, yes, you might want to consider, walking away from that transaction.
Right.
If they're not willing to insure it, then I would say it's probably a best bet that you go and buy a normal sale at that point or go try to find another foreclosure.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. Lewis, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
If anybody's out there, like we said, that's trying to to look to see what their house is worth to potentially refinance their home, go to HomeGain.com today to enter in and get that basic information. At that point, you're armed with just enough. You can call me up. I'd be glad to run your numbers to see if you are eligible, or if maybe we can run a scenario to borrow some money from a retirement account or for some stocks to make it feasible for you. In a lot of cases, we're able to help people save a couple $100s a month, which you can put, somewhere else. Put it in your savings account, because that's what we should be doing today. Thank you, Lewis, again for coming on.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you guys for listening to Real Estate Radio. We'll be back again next Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. discussing your real estate and credit needs. Thank you for listening to Real Estate Radio. We'll be back again next week. Have a great week.